A very Merry Christmas Eve to you and yours, Flock Nation. Welcome inside the vault on the 24th of December. It's officially week 17 of this NFL regular season with Monday Night Football in the rear view. And Sarah Ellison and I are back with you to get ready, of course, for a quick turnaround, a condensed week, a very unique week. The Ravens and Texans will battle tomorrow in Houston. It's a 4:30 kickoff. With that, welcome inside the vault for a Ravens lunch hour live stream. We will have the great John McClain, and he's been a past guest of the show, be on in about little over 20 minutes from right now for his Houston perspective. We'll also take a look at what Dan Orlovsky had to say within the last day or so, Sarah, and he had to eat a little bit of his own words when it comes to this MVP race and the candidacy of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Deontay Johnson's on the move. What else? Because we've got a lot to get into over the course of the next hour plus.
Yeah, lots from Lamar and John Harbaugh at the podium yesterday. So lots from Lamar on Beyonce. He's got a message for schedule makers. He said a lot. He talked about his improvement, his take on the MVP race, and then later on we'll talk about incentives and who are hitting their incentives, who have already hit it, and who have 2 games left to hit some. So some guys are looking to make money over the next two weeks.
Heck yeah! Now Orlovsky,
yes,
friend of the show. Really good dude, declared that this race was over through 15 weeks. We have covered it closely, and it seems as if there's this growing belief, not just within the national circles, but even the Houston Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans speaking very clearly about not only is the race not over, but he's taking Lamar. We'll have that in just a bit, but Sarah, you have been, I would say, leading the force on the front lines when it comes to Lamar's candidacy, why this isn't over. And now, did Orlovsky have to catch himself, or was he caught?
No, he didn't. He's not admitting anything. He's not admitting anything, but his co-hosts are, and even guys that weren't in the segment where he made an argument is. And then he went to Twitter. But Bobby, I don't know, maybe in December we need to come up with a branding segment of this where it's like Sarah's MVP battle, Sarah's MVP Lamar agenda, like something. We need the chat to come up with some good branding for this, because especially when we hit December, this is when the debate really kicks up a notch. And some girl, it was funny, some girl from Bill's fan base reached out to me and she's like, do you get paid or something if Lamar gets MVP? And I was like, can you tell me how I could do that? Because that would be great. I just feel I keep arguing against MVP voters. That's what I'm doing, because I know they can be influenced, whether it's from betting odds or what people are saying online. Like, I think they can be influenced. And so I'm going to go out and I'm going to keep responding to the Mike Florios and the Dan Orlovskys and the Emmanuel Achos, because I feel like there's an argument for Lamar, and they have been leaning towards Josh. And so I'm out there fighting the good fight, never getting personal whatsoever. So we will continue that fight right here. So yesterday, Dan Orlovsky said it's still Josh Allen for him, but there was one guy, and only one, that can make him move away from Josh Allen and put his vote somewhere else. That person is not Lamar Jackson. That person is not Patrick Mahomes, not Jared Goff, not Saquon Barkley, none of those guys. No, it's somebody else within the AFC North division.
That they're in this conversation, and Shannon, I'll say this, Stephen A., I'll say this. If they get in, he's the one guy that I think cracks the door open for a different MVP other than Josh Allen for me. Lamar's season is absolutely spectacular.
Well,
I've said that a billion times. If Joe Burrow drags this team to the playoffs, he's absolutely going to get MVP votes.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, I believe he's going to get MVP votes regardless. But I don't know how you overlook what Lamar Jackson's done and give the MVP to Joe Burrow when his stats are basically right there. It's not like Lamar Jackson has 22 touchdowns.
Shannon, last segment you just went off about how loaded their football team is, how loaded Baltimore is.
Yes.
And you said no one in the AFC can match
that. Jamar Chase is going to, I'm sorry, Dio, that Jamar Chase is going to win the Triple Crown as far as catches, yards, and touchdowns. Oh, my bad. He is such a terrible player. I cannot believe that Joe Burrow is doing this with such terrible receivers, with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Oh, my goodness.
Look, Shannon has been on one of late. I'm sure a lot of you have been following the news cycle and the own coworker drama.
Oh,
that
yeah.
with Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. Shannon has been on a news cycle tear.
Yes, he has.
But
Shannon Sharp, by the way, in a segment today, said that for him, if he had to vote today, he'd vote for Lamar because he said that he's always said if Lamar's arm can be about 65 to 70% of the production his legs produce, he said, then I would be on the Lamar Jackson bandwagon. He's like, well, now it's at 85, 90%. And he's like, so he's there for me. So that was kind of his argument for him. But Dan Orlovsky has to eat his own argument in a couple different ways here, Bobby. Number one, his whole point of taking Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson is the word value. That's what everybody's been doing. He's doing more with less, which is not true. And I'll mention that more in just a second. So it's all about not stats, not stats, not stats, not stats. Oh, but all of a sudden, when Joe Burrow comes in, it's like, look at his stats. And he kept saying with Lamar, well, he's got so much. And Shannon Sharp hit it on the head. Oh, I'm sorry that he has Jamar Chase. I'm sorry that he has T. Higgins. So yeah, his numbers are, that helps him. So what are we doing? Are we punishing people for having good teammates this year? Or are we not punishing people for having good teammates? And so Dan points out, well, he's got a terrible defense. Hi, this is why I've been pounding the table that Lamar is number one in the quarterback betrayal index, which measures how much a quarterback has to overcome his own defense and special teams poor play. So if that works for Joe Burrow, who has a lesser record than Lamar, and by the way, apparently head-to-head matchups don't mean anything to Dan because he's beaten Josh Allen and he's beaten Joe Burrow twice. So that obviously, Josh Burrow can take him off of Josh Allen, but not Lamar Jackson. That makes no sense. So he eats his own words there. But Dominique Foxworth this morning, because it was such a wild take, they played it again on Get Up this morning. And Dominique Foxworth explains how the argument eats himself in another way.
Tell me that the quarterback who leads the NFL in all the categories with a defense that is terrible, bottom 5 in the NFL, he's not going to get into the conversation.
Oh, my word.
Who is he talking to up there on the ceiling?
You know why he's talking up? Because he's high. So he's looking at the sea. My man Dan is high. First of all, he's got Lamar Jackson in his division. He's like, who is he doing? He has all those numbers because his defense is awful. You play the whole game. You throw it on. You got Higgins. You got Chase. He has players. This is Monday Dan. He's been really good this year until this Monday that he lost his mind again.
Real quick, Nick.
Yeah, the problem is his argument kind of eats itself because if you're going to say that Burrow should be the MVP, it shouldn't matter the team success. If you bring team success into it, then you start looking at the other quarterbacks whose teams have been more successful. So his argument shouldn't change whether they make the playoffs or not. It kind of hurts itself. Yeah. But yeah, it's a good take because we can poop all over it. Yeah. So thanks, Dan.
Saturday says, why is he looking up at the ceiling? For the audio-only audience, Orlovsky in that receipt that they played, it was as if he was looking up at the ceiling. Maybe there was something up there or a screen that he was looking at, Sarah, but Saturday comes, it's because he's high, he says. They're all torching him, and Orlovsky's not even on the set this morning.
No, he's not. But Dan Orlovsky did go to Twitter yesterday, Bobby, and he tweets, it's funny, I've championed Lamar his whole career. I've lauded his play for years. I said mid-season to 2019 he was MVP. I voted for him last year as the MVP. I said before the season he was going to flirt with 5,500 yards from scrimmage. Now I'm a Lamar hater? ? Exclamation point repeated. And so, listen, I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody calling him a hater. I think both you and I can agree he is not a Lamar Jackson hater at all. Far from it. I'd say he's an overall quarterback. He's an overall quarterback champion. You know what I mean? He's always looking at it from a quarterback point of view, obviously, because he was a quarterback. And I do think he loves Lamar Jackson. But I responded to him and I said, look, you're not a hater, not even close, but you did declare the MVP race over when it's super tight with 3 weeks to go, coming off of Josh Allen's biggest games of his season, and Lamar's coming off a bye in the Giants game. You wanted to ignore the 2 games against Pittsburgh and Houston, no matter what. Now he's sitting here saying even after that, well, only Joe Burrow with arguments that would only help Lamar. And so to me, I said to him, I was like, so can you see how, while you're not a hater, it can feel like you're pushing an agenda as an objective rather than an objective voter? Like, how do you declare it over that early when you're a voter? You can't, it's too careless.
It's a tough look. I mean, that discredits your voter credibility.
Yeah.
And again, Dan is one of the more polished NFL media people out there, especially as a former player. So I was shocked. I'm still shocked.
Yeah.
That he declared it over. That's at the crux of all of this. You know, you can talk about the Burrow angle of it. You can talk about the way in which his statistical logic comes into play for value and everything that he's been talking about. But the fact that he declared it over through 15 weeks, that's been a tough hurdle for him. And I don't think there's not going to be a lot of people within the Ravens fan base that'll have a short memory because that was just a couple weeks ago.
Right. So this tweet right here, again, maybe some Twitter people have called him a hater, but to me, and again, I love Dan. We've had him on the show. I think he's an excellent analyst. I feel like he's off right now, but like this tweet came across as a little bit like a victim kind of card where it's like, no, just own what you did. You called it over. And you just don't have good arguments for it. So meanwhile, I listened to Emmanuel Acho this morning. I actually appreciate his approach. He's like, I'm taking it week to week. And he was very clear this morning that he was like, I have to have blinders on for this year and this year only. He goes, I'm not voting based off of the fact that Lamar's had 2 in the last 2 years. He goes, I cannot do that and have voter fatigue. So I appreciate that he's done that. He's like, and every time they pose a question to the panel, he's like, you guys can answer it in like a different way than me because I'm a voter, so that carries some weight. And so like when he's saying so, like they asked a question like, can Lamar take over the MVP after, if he has a good game against Houston? He's like, I hate to say that. He's like, let me watch the game first and then I'll evaluate. He's like, you guys can do the hypotheticals as non-voters. Like me, right? I worked for the Ravens. We have a Ravens podcast. I clearly don't have a vote, so I can push a narrative as I see it from a Baltimore point of view. Now, if I put on a voter hat, I would not be doing this. I would take an Emmanuel Acho kind of like, I got to take it week to week. I got to take in the whole season, all that kind of stuff. But so I appreciate his approach and I think he can be convinced either way. But yesterday he posted a clip that said that his logic for putting Allen in the front runner spot right now is that he said that Josh Allen is doing just as much, if not more than Lamar, but with less. And so I kind of took that quote and I'll run through it quickly, but I tried to dismantle it. And I think I did. I said, Acho, this simply is not true. Quote, if not more. Wait a minute. Lamar leads Josh Allen just about all major quarterback statistic categories. So it's not more. And then with quote, with less. Lamar, as I've planted my fist on the table, Lamar is number 1 on the quarterback betrayal index. I've already explained what that is a million times. I said, meanwhile, the Bills are 4-2 when Josh has a quarterback rating below 100. He is being helped out by his team. Let's stop pretending that. And while James Cook doesn't have the yards of Derrick Henry, he is going to hit 1,000 yards. He's going to go over 1,000 yards. He's no slouch. Okay. And then I said, but honest question, why isn't anyone asking themselves why an aging 30-year-old running back is having a career year in the following stats? Henry has, in his yards per attempt, the last 3 years, 4.3 yards per attempt. In 2024, a career high. Derrick Henry at 30 years old, a career high, way higher than last 3 years at 5.9. His run success rate for the last 3 years. So don't give me arguments that last year he had a bad offensive line. He did. But we're talking about the last 3 years. He's a 46% run success rate. 2025 or 2024, a career high with 57.6. Bobby, those aren't slight increases. These are significant. And everyone keeps acting like Derrick is the reason why Lamar is playing at an MVP level, but he's done it twice already. So I could see everybody's argument. If Lamar had pedestrian numbers before, and then you bring in Derrick Henry, and now he's having way better numbers, then it's like, okay, attribute it to Derrick. But Lamar's done it with weapons. He's done it without weapons. So you can't attribute his year to Derrick, but you can attribute Derrick's increase to Lamar because you're seeing it in his wildly changed numbers. And I didn't get into it, but I didn't bring it in, but Gus Edwards conversely had career highs with Lamar Jackson. He was right there on pace with success rate with that Derrick Henry is having now. And then with the same coordinator in LA, Gus Edwards is having career lows. It's the Lamar Jackson effect. Stop saying that he's doing more with less. No, he always does well with or without weapons. And Henry is benefiting just as much, if not more, from Lamar than vice versa.
Well, I mentioned that shift off the top, right? This national shift maybe
Yes.
that's been happening in recent days, if not recent weeks, because again, this race is not over. Here's one example of the conversation starting to shift a little bit when the opponent had this to say about Lamar's MVP candidacy. And by the way, this was unprompted. He was asked about the matchup with Lamar. I'm talking about Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans, and he went in this direction. He wasn't asked to go in this direction.
He's playing some of the best football he's played. Like, he's definitely jumps off the tape as the best player I've seen this year. Talk about an MVP. He's definitely the MVP in my mind, just for what he's doing, not only run game wise, but throwing the football, the accuracy, the decision making. Like, he's playing unbelievable ball right now. So it's going to be a really tough challenge for us this week.
That's the opponent, DeMeco Ryans, who's seen quite a bit of these Ravens, Sarah, in the last year or so. Remember, they matched up in the early going of last year in the regular season. And then, of course, down the stretch in the postseason. In the divisional round, the Ravens went 2-0 against the then, rookie C.J. Stroud and the new-look Houston Texans. As far as Lamar is concerned with all of this, he was asked about the MVP race because you know how it goes in the social media age. There is no getting away from this if you are on social media. I'm not saying he's constantly on social media, but as he says, it pops up right in front of him.
If it do happen, it happens. That'd be dope 3 times. But like you said it, I'm not really focused on that. That's never been my goal though. Like even the first, the second one, and it's never been my goal. I always want to finish with the championship. But I've been falling short. But I got that accolade. But I still feel like the MVP is a team thing though, because my teammates helping me get that award. Because I always say this, I'm not the one catching the passes. Blocking, to help me get these passes off, stuff like that. That's offensive line, tight ends, receivers, running backs. It's everybody, all of us included. But I'm trying to win the championship, man. That's my biggest goal. That's been my goal ever since a little kid. But an MVP in the National Football League, that's dope. That's dope.
Caught up in because everyone's talking about you, Josh Allen. Going back. Do you hear that? I know you try to kind of insulate yourself.
I got no other choice but to hear it. Don't mean to cut you off, but like they tag me in it, like. Like, you don't got to tag me. You can talk about all you want, but you want to tag me to get, like, clickbait. Because, sometimes I'm going to say something back, like, that was stupid, But it is what it is, man. I don't care, though. I really don't care about the talk, the combos. I'm trying to win.
2 things, Bobby. Number 1, Coach DeMeco Ryans, coach of the Houston Texans, has played Josh Allen this year. Okay? And he played Lamar at the end of last year, obviously in the playoffs, and he's about to play him again. He's played both. He's calling Lamar the MVP. That's number 1. Number 2, can we squash this idea that, quote, Lamar doesn't care about the MVP? Listen to him. He said that would be dope to win it 3 times. Now, as I've said a million times, he prioritizes the championship. So is he focused on it in the middle of the season? No, because he's focused on team success. But he said it would be dope 3 times. He's like, here at the end, but MVP in the National Football League, that's dope. That's dope. Okay, so it's not his focus. It shouldn't be. His teammates and winning a championship is priority number 1. But believe you me, he answered another question later that said, hey, what do you think you've improved on? He's like, you know what? Can I answer that in the offseason? Because right now I'm focused on something else. But at the offseason, it's very important for me to look back, say, here's where I improved, here's my weaknesses, and here's where I can get better. He does that on a micro scale week to week, but does it big time in the offseason. I promise you, in the offseason or when his career is over, he understands what 3 MVPs would mean. So I don't want to hear people say he doesn't care about it. It's secondary to winning a championship, but he said it several times. That's MVP in the National Football League. Yeah, that would be dope.
Yeah, and 2 compared to 3, to your point, puts him in even more elite company than what he already sits in. So that's about legacy. And then obviously he continues to chase after that elusive, coveted Lombardi trophy. As we prepare for, of course, a very unique, condensed week here with the Ravens and Texans looming. It's a Week 17 matchup on Christmas Day, really technically Christmas afternoon into the evening. It's a 4:30 kickoff. We are pleased to once again be joined by the legendary John McClain, who has been a Houston Texans reporter, columnist, radio personality for years. Matter of fact, isn't it not coming up on 50 years, John, that you've been covering the National Football League? Merry Christmas to you and yours. We thank you again for the time. Is 50 within sight, or am I off there?
No, it's 48 covering the NFL. In my first year writing for Texans website after working for the Houston Chronicle for 46 years. And but who's counting? And thank you for having me on. Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Absolutely. I think we have to start with, instead of the state of the Texans, I think it's pretty clear what the state of the Texans and where they are in because of what happened with Tank Dell. And I've been watching a lot of press conferences since then. I've heard your voice on a number of those, and everybody's a little bit shaken up, obviously, because of the severity of that knee injury. And of course, CJ being best buds with him, probably the most affected. So I guess I ask you, what is the significance of the effect that Tank's injury is having on a really short week coming up against a tough opponent?
Well, the Texans offense have been in disarray all season. Tank Dell, his injury with Tank Dell, this offense was sputtering like an old jalopy, and it has been for most of the season. The protection, offensive line's been awful. They can't run block most of the time. Joe Mixon has 7 100-yard games. Other games, he averages less than 2 yards a carry because he's in the backfield all the time. And the passing game, woefully inconsistent. Tank Dell, what was so bad about losing Tank Dell, him being a popular player, is last year he went down in the 11th game trying to block in a pile and suffered a fractured fibula and missed the rest of the season. Then in the offseason, he was back home in Florida. He was an innocent bystander, got shot in the leg. It wasn't severe, but he still had to overcome it, and he wasn't available in the offseason program. And now making a great touchdown catch in the back of the end zone, and the injury was caused by his receiver, Jared Wayne, who was in the wrong spot. And he'd been activated the day before. And, of course, he was devastated because of what he did to Tank Dell. D'Amico Ryans told us it's dislocated knee. That's different than a kneecap. He also suffered a torn ACL, and Ryan said, and other things that have to be repaired. That would tell me there might be more ligament damage. So now Ryans wouldn't talk about this, started to think about, will he be available next season? But he was such a valuable piece of the offense and Stroud's best friend. A lot of fans blasted C.J. Stroud for crying when Dell was down, and Stroud makes no apologies about it. That's who he is. He said, that's my brother. And he knew what Dell was going through and the severity. Dell was on the ground screaming like crazy because he was in so much pain. And I've never seen Arrowhead Stadium that quiet.
Yeah, it was tough. I was watching that live, and I could see the impact it had on CJ, and I don't blame him. So meanwhile, John, obviously we know the news came down yesterday that the Texans claimed former Ravens wide receiver Deontay Johnson off of waivers, and then the Ravens returned the favor by picking up Steve Sims Jr. So in your view, what kind of impact, if any, can Deontay have by tomorrow? And where do you see his role after Christmas Day going forward?
That was a desperation move. Only 2 teams put in claims, Chargers and the Texans. Texans got Johnson, as you guys know, his 4th team, 3rd this year. He's a problem child who has not been able to contribute the way he did when he did at times early in his career, and that's why teams wanted him. They're open to the opportunity. and D'Amico Ryan's leadership will be able to get him on the straight and narrow. It's the last year of his contract. So he's auditioning. I doubt seriously he's going to play in this game. They have Robert Woods, the veteran, and John Mechie, the third, and Xavier Hutchinson. Those are three guys expected to step up and try to replace Tank Dell. And, of course, Stephon Diggs went down with an ACL in October. They missed Nico Collins for 5 games. He's been healthy now. He's still their leading receiver. I'm sure the Ravens are going to double him all over the field, as they should, because he is by far their best receiver. They'll use Joe Mixon out of the backfield a lot. Ravens know him very well from his time with the Bengals. He is right now the Texans' best, has had the best season of any Texans offensive player. And when I pick my postseason awards, he will be the offensive player of the year. Daniil Hunter will be defensive player of the year. Texas defense is good, but I was looking up, Lamar's 4-0 against the Texans. And the Ravens have won 5 in a row going back to 2014. And with Lamar, they've outscored them 33-10. And we all know, you guys were talking about it. I'm listening to a lot of people on ESPN talking about Josh Allen is still the favorite. Josh Allen just had a terrible game Sunday, and they barely beat the Patriots. So he better not have another one. I think it's going to go neck and neck, but I think the Ravens are going to win the division, and I think Lamar Jackson's going to win his 3rd MVP award because I looked up his stats. He's got the career best in everything. And I think I wouldn't want to play the Ravens if I was any team. And I like the Ravens because I picked them to win the Super Bowl before the season, and there for a while I'm thinking, geez, what'd that do? Now I'm feeling pretty darn smart picking the Ravens. Excuse me, that's our dryer going off.
John, you don't have an MVP vote, do you?
No, not anymore. Houston Chronicle took that away from us, and I'd done it for like 30 years.
So I agree with you.
Now I figured you guys would. I watched Josh Allen here, and the Texans beat them, and he had the worst game since his rookie year. He had like a 30 completed 30%. His rating was in the 30s. Wasn't because he got hit a lot. It wasn't because he had a lot of turnovers. They just forced him into a bad game, and I still have that in the front of my mind because it's the only time the Texans have beaten a good team.
Maybe back-to-back years here, we're looking at a Christmas Day opportunity for Lamar, right, to go out and win this thing. Because clearly, as some have said on the national side of things, the race is not over, especially when it's a 17-week, or 18-week, 17-game season, and that's ultimately
but Lamar and the Ravens are going up, and the Steelers are going down. And I've told everybody on my shows around the state, I said, look, you rather the Texans host in the first round of the playoffs the Ravens or the Steelers? If you're wishing for the Ravens, you're nuts. Give you Russell Wilson any day of the week. Last year, the Texans beat the Steelers here by 24, and that was with Kenny Pickett. But give me Russell Wilson, who's kind of fading, over Lamar, who's like Santa Claus just streaking through the sky.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. And especially with no Pickens now, maybe Pickens will be good to go tomorrow against Kansas City. But clearly that offense, as we saw this past weekend, is night and day without number 14 out there. But John, we're looking at these rankings right now, and you just kind of referenced how stout this Houston defense is. That they have the athletes, though, to compress the pocket the way that Pittsburgh has been able to successfully do, not this past weekend, the first time around in week 11, and try to contain Lamar as much as possible.
Texans defense is built on speed. None of the linebackers weighs 235. They're all about speed, getting sideline to sideline, gang tackling. But that's easy to say. Lamar's so good. Now, Derrick Henry, who at one point, Henry has 6 100-yard games, 3 200-yard games against the Texans. Didn't have any last year when the Texans swept the Titans, but the Texans know all about what Derrick Henry is capable of doing. And I said this before the season, I thought Derrick Henry would be the best free agent signing of the offseason, and now he's one of them, of course. A lot of people in Philadelphia would say Saquon Barkley. It's going to be hard to argue against that. But this 1-2 punch, my goodness, there's not a better one in the NFL. And I don't know and D'Amico Ryan's talked about this, how accurate Lamar Jackson has been throwing the ball, good decision makings. Is it just because he's more experienced? It looks like he has more weapons. He's more confident throwing the ball. Remember in the past, he didn't throw it the boundary very well. It was all down the middle to Mark Andrews, and that's why I think the Ravens are going to be hard to beat from here on out.
So that's interesting. So when you said that, the Texans defense is built off of speed, obviously the Ravens have speed with Zay Flowers and Lamar. Do you anticipate the Ravens attacking them more with Derrick Henry then to try to be the bully rather than try to outrun them?
The Texans defense, I think, is 4th overall. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. have more sacks combined than any twosome in the league, even though they didn't have any against Kansas City. Hunter has 12 sacks. He leads the league in pressures. He's been an outstanding free agent signing. And their defensive line has been good. Their linebackers have been good. They haven't gotten good safety play. Corners have been good. Now they've lost one of their safeties, Jimmy Ward, for the season, and they're going to have to adjust. They've got their second and third safeties forced to play. So I don't think it matters. I don't know how anybody is going to slow down Lamar Jackson. Even the Steelers couldn't do it for the first time. And that had to give him a lot of confidence, the kind of game he had and the severity of that victory. So I can't imagine. Buffalo's defense is not very good. Now, Kansas City's is. We could be headed to another Ravens-Chiefs game this year, just like last year, and I'd be really interested to watch that defense go against Lamar and Derrick Henry.
John, is it fair to say that C.J. Stroud has regressed or had a sophomore slumping season? And if that's the case, what would you describe it as aside from losing Diggs and maybe some lack of pass pro at times?
It's all the lack of pass pro. He's second most sacked quarterback in the league, second most pressured quarterback in the league to Caleb Williams. It's amazing how pathetic their interior blocking has been. There was a stat last week that the Texans lead the league on guys beating initial blocks, which didn't surprise anybody here because it's been terrible. And what was weird last year when the Texans opened and ended with the Ravens, the offensive line wasn't an issue, and they were forced to start 12 guys because of injuries, and they were starting guys off the street. This year, they had all their guys back, and by and large, other than Laramie Tunsil, most of them at best have been mediocre, and some of them have been awful and been benched and injured. So it's all because he's been hit so much, and he gets pressured. Almost every touchdown pass he throws is on the run. Both of them Sunday were on the run. Now, he threw an interception into double coverage, shouldn't have thrown the ball. He had another interception, his second. He's got 11 this season. He had 5 as a rookie. He's pressing. He's throwing the ball before he needs to. He's just a little bit off target. And a lot of that comes from when you're expecting to get hit. Seldom do you see him drop back in the pocket and have time to pick out a receiver, go through his progressions down the field. And you guys will see this on Wednesday, that what I'm talking about.
So if pass protection is broken and you're down tank, is this offensive strategy to just lean on Joe Mixon and hope that hit, maybe some success there will open things up through the air?
Yeah, some of their play calling's awful. Bobby Slowick, the fair-haired boy last year, he has not adjusted to the way defensive coordinators have adjusted to his offense. He has a quick screen last week. They threw it 4 times. Every one was negative yardage. And you're thinking there, what in the world are you doing? Why do you keep throwing that when it didn't work and the blockers are not getting out there? They're getting stunned. But he did it anyway. So the play calling has been suspect. Texans been good in the first half, terrible in the second half, and don't know why. Same thing. Other teams adjust. Texans don't adjust to them. I'm not sure what they're going to do on offense, but they cannot bring same line back. I'm sure the coaches will get fired. A shakeup on offense. Don't think anything will happen to Bobby Slowick because he and D'Amico Ryans are best friends.
Okay. Well, Sarah mentioned the roster shuffling earlier, and it was mostly about Deontay Johnson, but then Steven Sims Jr. and the corresponding move, right, is claimed by the Ravens, like we mentioned. So I guess the question is, maybe they bring him in for punt return specialist competition because that's been an unsettled area for the Ravens from a special teams perspective. But what is the scouting report on Sims? I mean, we remember what he did in Baltimore in the divisional round. He returned a punt for a touchdown. But what led to I guess the the dismissal.
Stevens is good. They need to clear a spot, so that's why he was dumped. But he's a good returner. Now, every once in a while, he can fill in at receiver, but he's a good kickoff returner. He's a good punt returner. So if they got him for that role, he'll do a really good job. And he can run down the field and cover on kicks on special teams if they need him to do that as well. And he's a good guy. He will go into every game when he's asked.
Well, that is a positive, Sarah, isn't it?
We need that. We need that in Baltimore. San Fran could use it too. Oh my gosh, John, you've made me, and it's your humor. You just deliver it with such a monotone voice, but it's so funny. You've made me laugh like 3 times. So,
Thank you.
John, just to finish up, what's the matchup you're looking for, and what's your game prediction with the score, if you can?
The matchup would be if the Texans somehow can run the ball and keep Joe Mixon from getting hit in the backfield. He has done really well. And he's missed almost 3 games because of hip drop tackles that weren't called. And he's been outstanding. And they need the offensive line to do a good job against a run defense that's number 1 in the NFL. So I look for the Ravens to totally shut down the run, get after C.J. Stroud like all teams do. He'll be flushed out of the pocket. He'll have to throw on the run. And but I picked the Ravens to win, I guess, 34-17. No, 33-10, because that's what they've averaged with Lamar.
Sarah, with conviction.
With conviction.
With conviction. You can find John on X or Twitter at McClain_on_NFL. John, you've obviously your weeks are jam-packed, so we appreciate you as always for joining us. And please, on your way out, tease anything else that you have coming up between now and kickoff.
Yeah, I'm working on a column now about the Texans, what we just talked about. How could they possibly stop that offense? It'll be posted on HoustonTexans.com. And thank you guys for having me on. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I don't think we'll be doing this again before the wild card round, but it's not out of the possibility if the Steelers get their act together.
Well, I got to tell you, I think there's a lot of people in the live chat that want this matchup in the 4 or 5 because they want to see you again on our show. So John, we appreciate you, man.
Yep.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, John.
Merry Christmas.
He is a legend for a reason. They don't come like that anymore, Bobby. Oh,
Absolutely.
my gosh. What a legend.
Yeah, no, he's been covering the NFL for, like you said, 48 years. And he's a Texas Sports Hall of Famer. I see some folks that are down in that area. I think Cameron Walker, I know Torres is down there as well, that are very familiar with his work. And how could you not be? He's incredibly generous with his time. His dry humor is legendary and elite. And obviously, he's not exactly high on the Texans, which brings us to whether we will be or not. And I have to say this, Sarah, I want to kick this conversation off.
Well, before we give our predictions, can I just say one thing about his commentary on Steve Sims Jr.? Desmond King muffed one punt, fumbled another. After the game, he tweets, "Great win. I will correct my mistakes." Bobby, I don't know if he's going to get a chance to. If what John said is true, that they didn't want to have to cut him, but they needed to do it for Deontay, and he says he's a good returner, Desmond King could, maybe not by Wednesday, but Desmond King could find himself down on the depth chart. So yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Definitely not by Wednesday. Harbaugh said as much, right? Yeah. It'll be Desmond tomorrow. But to your point, maybe because of the significance of the quality of player that became available, Sims finds himself down the stretch with a job and an important job, because that's been, like I said, it's been an unsettled area for the Ravens special teams post-bye and really pre-bye too. It started with the Philadelphia game and they've been tinkering around with it all season. So where I was going though was this.
Yeah.
You and I came out of the bye and we did an exercise at one point. It was a mini topic and it was a simple question. What will the Ravens' final 4-game record look like down the stretch of the regular season? And at the time, I was fairly confident that they would be 3-1. They would go 3-1 down the stretch. Now, remember, coming off the bye, clearly a sour taste in everyone's mouth because of the performance against the Eagles. You then have a 10-day bye. It's a 10-day off period to just sit there and think about it. You have the Deontay Johnson thing looming. You have special teams issues. Penalties are through the roof, which did, by the way, continue in the Giants game, at least defensively. They had 8 penalties in that game, 12 total, if I'm not mistaken. But honestly, I think I have to walk myself back on that prediction. All three phases right now appear to be peaking at the right time. This is an offense that's pretty much at the top and the upper echelon in every single category. An MV3 potentially on deck. King Henry, who in the past has been a darling in the month of December and sure looks like that's the exact same way for the soon-to-be 31-year-old. The defense, clearly, since week 11, week 10, circle it right around there, has shifted. They have more protection and a sense of calmness on the back end with Kyle and Ardarius. Trenton has been demoted for the time being, which has opened up Roquan a little bit to play more freely. Big Mike Pierce is back, right, along the interior part of that defensive line. You're getting continued sipping from the fountain of youth for Kyle Van Noy. And I haven't mentioned a lot of other pieces as well. Justin Tucker drills it from 51. It's a small sample size. He seems as if he's got better morale. I think they're winning out. I do. Just first, before we get into the score and whatnot, I don't think they're going to go 3-1 anymore, and I think they're going to end up winning this division.
Bobby, I'm right there with you. I said the same thing. I said 3-1. I thought the Steelers was going to be the biggest obstacle, and they passed that test with flying colors. And now here we are against a Texans team that is also falling apart, in part because of injury. And so you just sit there and you listen to John, and it's like, where are they going to get their offense? Because the Ravens defense will have a fairly simple, I didn't say easy, but simple assignment. You stop the run first, which is always true, but it's going to be especially true against the Texans because Joe Mixon is essentially their offense at this point. So you key in on the running game. And then as John said, you've got Nico Collins. And so you double him. And if everybody else cannot win their one-on-ones with a MASH wide receiver unit, then that's a problem. And so meanwhile, I thought my biggest thing was like, will the Texans defense give the Ravens a really, difficult time, given that I think they're number 4. Is that what we just posted those a second ago?
They're the 4th overall defense, 11 against the run, 6 against the pass.
What are they in points?
9th.
All right. So,
they're top 10 in just about every single category.
Right. And I also thought that, I thought he was going to give more props to, he gave a shout out to Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter. He said that there's no tandem out in the NFL that has more sacks than them. They each have, I think they both have double digits right now, just over 10, I believe. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe they might be able to employ the Steelers, old formula, and he blew that out of the water. He's like, well, the Steelers can't do it. Then how do you expect us to do it when the Steelers know the Ravens best? And so I think there's obviously extra motivation going on for the Ravens as they need to win the AFC North. Texans have a lot of motivation too, but Texans seem like emotionally hurt also. Do you know what I mean? Like there's that part of it, just mentally. You see it here, and CJ Stroud is a pro, and I appreciate his love for his friend and teammate. But you wonder how much, that lingers with just a game, from Saturday to Wednesday. So I'm with John. I think the Ravens win. I think they win big. So what did he say? 33-10?
He was the best, man.
He was the best. I was going to go over 30. I like 34-24. I'd feel bad giving more than the 10 points, but maybe it'll be bigger than that. But I'm not going to change it. This is what I had coming in, about 34-24.
Ravens are 3.5-point road favorites. It's a very quick week for both teams, as we know, as it is for the Steelers and Chiefs. The over-under set at 47.5. I'm going 30-21 Ravens. I think Joe Mixon will get some chunk yards, but they will keep him in check. This right now, what you're seeing on the screen here, I don't think it can be overstated. And by the way, listening to some press conferences, Sarah, since this moment, of course, Tank Dell going down with a very, very severe injury. You're not kidding. CJ Stroud is a pro, and he is incredibly likable. And I remember saying that after the loss back in January in the divisional round, when he got up there, faced the music, praised Lamar, shared his admiration for Lamar. CJ Stroud's a likable dude, and I know he's regressed a little bit here, but remember, What did John say? I set it up accordingly because of some of the stuff that I had sort of researched prior and listened to. And that was, what has led to the slump aside from losing Diggs to injury, Stephon Diggs, of course, and the lack of pass pro. And he quickly was able to answer that this offensive line, particularly when it comes to the interior protection, has been poor. And so I think this is an opportunity for Chuck Smith's group to do what they've been doing in recent weeks and game wreck the opposing quarterback and get home, whether it be Nnamdi in the middle part of that defensive line, KVN on the edge, Adafe bringing the pressure that he consistently brings, big MP, of course, Mike Pierce bringing it as well. So I'll go 30-21 Ravens. And then, of course, that sets up a regular season finale at home against the Browns, who will likely be starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And the AFC North will be very much up for grabs going into that slate.
Well, and what's nice is the Ravens will know what happens with the Chiefs-Steelers game. Not that it changes much, but what a Christmas that would be if the Steelers were to lose and the Ravens were to win. And what a terrible Christmas would be if the reverse happened.
No kidding.
And by the way, I haven't checked in. What is the status of George Pickens heading into that game? Do you know?
Pickens is he's expected to go tomorrow.
Oh, he is. Okay, so he's returned to practice and all that. Okay.
As is Deshaun Elliott. So it's interesting that these guys that were obviously key pieces to the Steelers on each side of the ball, respectively, didn't go on Saturday. But despite the quick turnaround, are ready to go. Maybe that was just part of the plan, or maybe that was a part of the Ravens Steelers brutal nature. And you're like, look,
we don't want to risk this. Yeah,
we need them to be available Christmas Day. It's not like
to put him through, 2 games depends on how you count it. I say 4 days. To put him coming off of injury in 2 massive games, Ravens and Chiefs, that would have been malpractice.
It's a lot to ask.
Yeah.
There's no question it's a lot to ask. You and I will be, of course, not live streaming tomorrow at 12 noon. We will have our post-game live stream in the 8 o'clock hour. We look forward to talking Ravens Texans with you all on Christmas night. And obviously a huge thank you to John McClain for his time. Go hit him up on X and share your appreciation with him, because we always appreciate his time and his insights, because Sarah, you were cackling at points throughout that. He's the best.
He is the best. Should we transition into some Lamar presser nuggets, if you will?
Yeah. At the beginning, we shared obviously the MVP part of this conversation, but there were many other sound bites that came from Lamar's press conference, including, Sarah, something related to the Christmas night halftime show.
Well, Bobby, for the second time, not the first time, most people don't ever have this, but not one time, but the second time one Beyonce will be performing during a Ravens halftime show. I happened to be at the Super Bowl in New Orleans for the first time that it happened. They passed out those blue lights to put on your finger, and you were supposed to be flashing it while she's singing her songs. And it was a show. It was great. And the lights went out. Let's make sure the Texans have their stadium in order. We don't want any lights to go out. But Lamar Jackson was not a part of that 2012 team when she performed. Do you think he was still in middle school in 2012? Let's see, he came out, maybe he was in high school. Maybe he's in high school.
He was drafted in 2018. He did 3 years at Louisville, if I'm not mistaken.
15,
so, yeah, he was not in college. I know that.
Probably a freshman in high school, somewhere around there. So when I tell you that Lamar Jackson is looking forward to this, believe you me, and he may have to do something he wouldn't normally do during games, and he's pre-apologizing to his coach and teammates for it. Here we go.
I see to the left.
A little disappointing that she's going to be performing at a halftime show that you can't watch.
Nah, because I'm going to go out there and watch. Yeah.
Straight face.
Go out there and watch, man. My first time seeing Beyonce perform, and it's at our game. That's dope. I'm going to go out and watch. Sorry, Hawa. Sorry, fellas.
Depends how big your lead is if you guys have one.
Nah, man, I'm not even thinking about the lead. I was just thinking about just seeing Beyonce for the first time. Not saying it like that. No disrespect, nah. Cause I know how people can take things. Pause.
Hey, I got to tell you, I'll believe it when I see it. This happened to Evan McPherson, the Bengals kicker. a few years back, and he was accosted for doing this. So
for going out and watching.
Oh yeah, McPherson got ripped. So I'll be very curious. I will believe this when I see it, and you already know that all the powers that be around NRG Stadium are going to have their cell phones ready to go, looking for every single tunnel, every nook and cranny where Lamar might just maybe be peeking out for a quick little look at Beyonce's concert.
I'll say this. I mean, if the Ravens are doing pretty well, okay, say like they're up by. Oops, let me pause that. Say like they're up by. I don't know. What if they're up by 14? Would you allow it? Would you allow it?
Oh, I don't really care. I mean,
I'll say this. Lamar said that, but something tells me that if the Ravens are losing, Lamar will be ticked off and won't come out. Like, I think he'll be in the moment.
And what kind of message is he sending if he's doing that when they're losing? You know?
I don't think he will if they're losing.
I don't think this is going to happen at all, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. This is everywhere right now. You think
you're
Harbaugh
calling his
enjoys
bluff?
it?
You're calling his bluff.
I think he thinks he's going to do it. And now that it's a national storyline, and literally Shannon and Stephen A were talking about it at the close of First Take a minute ago. And it's been on every other outlet, including the Beyonce influencer accounts, Sarah, that are like the aggregate Beyonce accounts that have hundreds of thousands of followers are tweeting about this.
Yeah. I'll just say this though. I'll just say this. Let's just go down this hypothetical. All right. He kind of needs Lamar. It would be nice if Lamar could put up 4 or 5 touchdowns, right? Especially if he was a Jackson 5, just for the MVP race. Let's say he put up another Jackson 5 and peaked out. I don't think he'll be ripped at all. I think it'll be like Lamar put up 5 touchdowns and enjoyed Beyonce's concert. Deal with it.
Theoretically, I am very much with you.
Okay. What was I going to say? I forgot. But John Harbaugh, this video comes courtesy of Jameson Hensley, was asked about Beyonce, and he had a little reminiscing to do from the last time Beyonce performed.
All right,
I like Beyonce. I can't say I'm a huge Beyonce fan, but I think I like her.
Yeah.
She's doing country now?
Yes.
She's doing a little country now?
Yeah, a little country.
Think some of those country songs will be in there?
Probably.
Oh.
In Texas, yeah.
Check it out. You'll have to report to me on that.
She played the halftime when you won the Super Bowl. I mean, how could you not like her, right?
Did she?
Yeah.
Some blamed her for the power outage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, really? I do remember that now. Focus.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
So these questions were before, because Lamar came after him. I'm sure they would have asked him about Lamar going out when he's like, "Sorry, Harbaugh. Sorry, fellas." One other thing, I do appreciate that Lamar made it clear where he was like, and just to be clear, like, he's a fan of Beyonce, but he's like, but not like that. I know how people can take things wrong, and he straight up said pause, because it's like she's married, he's got a family. Like, he wants to make sure that you understand it's all respect, but he's a big fan. And it's just like in the, like, what are those magazines, like Us Weekly or whatever, where they take like a celebrity and they're like, they're just like us. Like, that's Lamar right there, geeking out over Beyonce.
Yeah, that pause was I had a different interpretation of that pause, but
what was your interpretation? Or do you not want to share?
No, it's
okay.
And we'll know real quick if the live chat's with me or not. I see the way you interpreted it.
Yeah, that's for sure how I interpreted it.
You and I will have a conversation once we're off the air on that one.
Now see, but now you've got my eyes plastered on chat, and it's gonna take everything within me to not interrupt if somebody explains it to me.
That's exactly what we're gonna do. Okay. Well, why don't you just pull up the Beyonce clip once more, and we'll allow everybody to interpret it once more, and then you and I will chat in a non-G-rated area once we finish things up.
Okay, I'll bring it back up. Hold on.
Chris is with me. Chris is with me. I already knew it.
Chris? Did Chris explain it?
Oh, this is gonna be classic. Nobody's gonna explain it. If somebody explains it, good luck,
man. Oh, Curtis says he's with you.
Pull that sucker up, partner.
I can't stop reading. Okay, hold on. Let me fast forward to the end. We don't need to listen. Yeah.
A little disappointing that she's going to be performing at a halftime show that you
more
can't
than
watch.
that.
Nah, because I'm going to go out there and watch. Yeah.
Now let me go further.
Man, I'm not even thinking about the lead. I was just thinking about just seeing Beyonce for the first time. Not saying it like that. No disrespect, nah. 'Cause I know how people can take things. Pause.
Oh, what am
Thinking
I
about just seeing
missing?
Beyonce for the first time. Man, I'm not even thinking about the lead. I was just thinking about just seeing Beyonce for the first time. Not saying it like that. No disrespect, nah. 'Cause I know how people can take things. Pause.
Just so everyone knows, I'm not laughing at the soundbite anymore. I'm laughing at I'm laughing at the fact that
Okay. Well, now I'm reading the chat.
this was not my goal to get us to this point, but I had to. When you reference pause,
Because you weren't
I was
even
like,
going to
I
bring
think
it
she
up.
has a completely different interpretation
I
of what he
totally
meant by
do.
it.
Okay. I think I can. We'll have to talk.
Oh.
Is it related to Jay-Z?
No,
No. Okay.
you,
Well,
you for
like
everybody's
people are
best
straight
interest.
up saying what they're talking. Okay.
For everybody's best interest, you and I will handle this conversation once we finish up the show and we're off live.
Clearly, I should stick to football. This is the lesson we're learning today: is that Sarah needs to stick to football. Football and faith. Those two things I can do. How about that? Moving along. Bobby, I've never seen you laugh this hard before because I always try to bring in things that are humorous to me, and you're always like, "That's not funny. That's
I
not
am
funny.
crying.
Well, that's not funny." But you are dead over. Look at your face. You're red. Let's blow. Look, you got tears in your eyes.
Oh, it's just this is what we needed. This is a Christmas
It
Eve.
says, "What would Jesus do?" Sarah
Man.
WWT. Oh man. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Anybody who thinks I don't have humor, all right, you can go pound salt. Anyway,
All right, let's move on. He was
to be
also
continued.
asked. Yeah, he was also asked about playing on Christmas Day, and he had a message. And we'll try to get our tears. We'll try to get ourselves together during this next clip. He has a message for NFL schedule makers.
I believe a lot of people are going to be watching us at the right time.
When will you celebrate with family?
The 26th of December.
Wait.
Yeah,
hold
I mean,
on. Wait.
clearly.
Wait. How come that was so close? Hold on a second. I don't think this started from the beginning.
But you're playing on Christmas for the
Here we
second
go.
straight year, man. Does it mean anything special to be playing?
We're in shambles over here. Okay,
It's all my fault too.
we're in shambles. That played like the last. And by the way, we haven't even gotten to any super chats today.
No, I gotta blow my nose.
This is.
I'm like,
I always
you
keep
know, when
Kleenex.
you start to like any kind of tears start to whether it's sad or happy tears, they start to make your nose run. That's where I'm at right now. So yeah, go ahead and play that.
All right, let's play the whole clip this time, and let's get ourselves together.
But you're playing on Christmas for the second straight year, man. Does it mean anything special to be playing on that day at all?
I mean, it is. You know, it is. I mean, we're good. But at the same time, I do want to celebrate at home sometimes with my family now. So don't all the time. I don't want to be playing on Christmas all the time. Not all the time. But no, it's great. All jokes aside, it's great. It's a present for everyone. You know, they get to see us play, and a lot of eyes on us. And I believe a lot of people are going to be watching us at the right time.
When will you celebrate with family?
The 26th of December.
That was back-to-back years, partner of Christmas Day games.
That's right. You think the schedule makers will listen to him?
He's what everybody wants to see. That's the problem.
That's the
Lamar,
thing. He said we're good, and I was like, well, yes, but also you're like the best player in the league. You're on the cusp of a third MVP, maybe, if I can convince the Dan Orlovskys and Nachos of the world.
As long as Lamar is at peak, not even, gosh, I say peak performance, as long as he's in this league because of what he's built and because of what he's become, I would suspect that they're going to be maxed out in either primetime or standalone games every single year. They're going to be on the marquee kind of matchups, like on a Christmas Day or a Thanksgiving, things of that nature. And then maybe next year, they'll get another international game because they're trying to grow the game that way.
Yeah.
And selfishly, I'll be fired up about that because you better believe I'm going to try and find my way there.
Listen, I don't mind Christmas. I like the nighttime better though. Like 4:30 in the middle of Christmas Day is a little rough.
4:30 stuff. You and I
yeah.
felt we didn't feel great about Christmas last year, but we felt okay and comfortable with the fact that we could have our entire days and not clock in until 8.
Right.
You know?
Right. And it's obviously worse for them because they're traveling. They've done it twice on the road. So here's what I can just imagine schedule makers in like a boardroom meeting around like the big table. And they're like, all right, what are going to be our big splashes, our big money makers, our big TV ratings? Because NBC or CBS or Netflix or Amazon or who knows any of these streaming, they're going to be like, no, we want Lamar. And we're like, if we're to purchase this for big money, we want Lamar. And they're going to be like, Lamar said he didn't want it. And they'll be like, all right, let's let him do it at home this year, but we're still putting him on Christmas or Thanksgiving. It's going to be one of the two. That is for sure what's going to happen because that's Lamar makes them money. Lamar makes clicks. Lamar makes money. Lamar makes wins. He does it all.
And we're no different, honestly, in
No.
that side of things when it comes to him.
No. Anywho, a little bit more. Lamar was asked about how he continues to keep improving, having career numbers after he's already had 2 MVPs, and he explains it.
Improving because each year, like I said earlier with one of those type of questions, like I'm critiquing myself. So I'm seeing what team's doing to me, and I'm seeing all the type of defenses they're trying to throw at me, and I'm just studying those. And after that, it's like, all right. So when I'm going into games, I'm getting I'm getting a feel for what they're doing to me, and that's just making my job a lot easier.
Does that just come with age and time and experience, or is that a different approach, like to the film?
Yeah, that's definitely just age. Cause early on in my career, I wasn't critiquing myself like that. I'll probably go see what I did because I just got in the league. Like, I just did this in the league, But now it's just totally different. Totally different.
It's like reaching enlightenment, Bobby.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I just see what they're doing to me. And so he like knows how to counter it. And then you can settle down. You can like play like it's the Matrix. It's just you're Neo in the Matrix and you can see everything. Everything's so slow. And I love that. And I think the proof is in the pudding because we just saw it against the Steelers, who previously, as everybody was saying, was his kryptonite.
Last year was the story of empowerment and being rejuvenated with a new system and Todd Monken coming in. This year, it's just about a certain comfort level and a level of wisdom that he's continuing. He's a veteran now, he's not in age wise. What does he turn 28 next month, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
But there's just it's all slowing down for him clearly, and just one by one, he's attacked every single narrative aside from the Super Bowl.
That's right, and the Chiefs. And by the way, he was asked about like, hey, you guys are getting hot. Is this a good sign?
Do you kind of buy into the notion of getting hot at the right time and playing your best football late in the season?
No. I feel like that went out the window last year because we got hot last year and we went on a win streak and then we lost in the NFC Championship. So that went out the window after that. But for me,
yeah, he's not buying that.
No. Nope.
Yeah, it's. I remember the first time in 2019 when he had the MVP and they were going to the playoffs and he was interviewed by whatever broadcast was doing the divisional game, and he was letting himself dream. He's like, because the Super Bowl was in Florida. He's like, hey, this will be great. I can go back to my home town and have a Super Bowl win in just my second year. Like he was letting himself like see it all, and like. Last year it started, but he's continuing it this year. He's like, no, I'm not falling into any of that, one game at a time.
Super chats.
Finally, only an hour into the show, an hour and 6 minutes into the show.
Yeah, whenever we have a guest that's smack dab in the middle and shows up 5 minutes early, they go below the waist side, unfortunately. So sorry about that, guys. But Christian Watson says Unk and Jeff Saturday said that Lamar is in the lead on First Take. Merry Christmas, everyone. Going back to our MVP conversation from earlier on. Joey H. partner.
Teams start 0-2, have an 11% chance to make the playoffs. Woo! Well,
And
hopefully
the
Ravens are a part of that 11%.
They will help.
Or they've raised it to maybe 12. Who knows?
They will help that percentage, at least by a fraction. Dr. Ad Sykes or AD Sykes says, I can take you in the ring, Bobby. Gloves or none. Pick your poison.
Wait, why is everybody trying to fight you?
What?
Did you have another fight?
What's the context here, doctor? By the way, no gloves, doctor. Let's run it up.
What? What are you doing?
I don't know. I don't know where that came from. 12-19. If you're still here, doctor, I would love some context on that. But
Yeah, doctor, why are you trying to fight Bobby?
oh, but hey, we can keep it. I mean, can we want to live stream it? Let's run it.
No, I don't want it to happen.
Well, no, but like a competition type thing, not.
Oh,
we can have the proper.
Oh,
yeah,
like
I think
a
that's what
boxing match. Okay.
Well, that's my.
But
That's
dude,
my
you don't even know who this
interpretation.
guy is. What if he's like 6'3", 220?
With all due respect, when I say this, doctor, in your profile photo,
He looks a little bit older.
I see some grays.
There's
I
some
see a little bit
grays.
of, and I've never been one to discount the OG, right? The OG actually sometimes still packs a punch, but I'm also a
Wait.
confident person.
Oh my gosh. Have you like fought in your past? Like you seem very open to these things.
I've had a few.
No, I
Well,
mean like train like did you do boxing?
I actually,
Or like
I do box a little bit.
really?
Yeah, I go. I mean, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, I'll go and do like an actual session out in Essex, which is an interesting area to box. But yeah, I've gotten lessons before
Okay.
for no other reason than I just enjoy the workout. I'm not trying to go throw hands in the street,
No.
But I do want some context on where this came from. And yes,
He's had
but
to have
just
watched one of your past shows, right? Where you were getting
maybe, probably.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, David Hewer and I went fisticuff, which was fun, verbally, for fun. And just to be abundantly clear, this would be for competition, good spirited purposes, not to try and kill somebody.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Jersey Mike,
God, the
2052.
show today is
That was
wild.
random, man. This is taking a lot of turns today. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Is it my turn? Is it my turn?
Your turn.
Okay, if Lamar is able to throw an arm punt, he'll win MVP. Yeah, Lamar, just start throwing up arm punts on 3rd and 16. You'll be good. Josh got receiving and a pass TD. So should Hill get a fumble and Lamar interception be 3? Okay. I like your logic there. Ask Dan Orlovsky.
Kobe Pruitt says giving Lamar a 3rd MVP would necessitate the media admit that Lamar is actually Mahomes. Let's see. Giving Lamar a 3rd MVP would necessitate that the media admits that Lamar is actually Mahomes' true rival and the Peyton versus Tom of this era.
Bobby, did you see me post the call with my own personal transcription of Marlon Humphrey's pick 6?
The call with your own personal? No.
Okay, so to me, when I heard it, and I re-listened to it like a good dozen times, when I heard it, I heard them say Wilson drops back under pressure, and then what it sounded like to me was Oscar Barack, and then he's like, Marlon takes it back, pick 6. Like there was a whole anyway, I posted it with that transcription because that's honestly what I heard. I listened to it like 12 times, and I thought he just got caught up in the excitement of it, and I thought it was hilarious because I could see myself doing that. And then so like within like 3 minutes, a kid was like, or one of my followers, I don't know if he was a kid, one of my followers was like, I'm pretty sure he was saying has to get rid of it and then stops as it's being intercepted and then says it the other way. And I was like, oh man, you just like ruined my interpretation. Like it was funny. And now I can't unhear what he actually said. Anyway, somebody else had suggested to bring in the gibberish. And every time we have a super chat that we can't understand, we just hit a play on that gibberish and be like, this is what it sounds like right now with us trying to read these.
You already know I'm all for that.
Okay.
Or
done.
we just continue to read them word for word as they come in, as they're submitted.
That's fun too.
Or either way.
Fun too.
Either way.
A little bit of both.
Rave. No Diddy.
No Diddy.
Thor. Sarah.
What happened to Ben Cleveland? He broke his streak.
No, come on, Rave. You're supposed to sign every single one of them as Ben. Don't you know that?
Yeah. Thor says, fun fact, Dominique Foxworth named his dog Lamar. I listened to that this morning. His cat was Lamar, and his son, who's a big Lamar fan, named him, but the cat is a Bengal.
Oh, okay.
So
wow. There's a lot of, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes. Cat, though, Thor. Cat. I saw that segment as well. Swoltron.
Is it my turn again?
Swoltron. Is he referring to his physique? Like he's swole?
Maybe.
I wonder. That's a new super chat donor. Appreciate you,
He
Swole.
wants to box you too. I don't know.
Maybe. Have
Am
you
I
all
sure?
noticed the king wearing his Madden 99 cleats? And of course, went the F off. Also, Sam Monson of PFF is asking to be influenced for MVP. Winky, aka Sarah.
Wait, he asked?
Go hit him up.
I'm doing that when people aren't even asking.
Go hit that man up. Let's see. Jarm, partner.
Imagine this game: Chiefs versus Ravens at Santiago.
Yes.
How do I pronounce
Bernabeu.
that? Bernabeu. Oh,
Santiago Bernabeu in Spain. That's in Madrid. And I'm very familiar because I've been there several times during my semester abroad. First of all, I believe this is Dominican Republic currency. So shout out you, Jarm, for being with us. That would be incredible. I have a big spot in my heart for Spain. And I know you've done a little bit of Spain as well.
I have just a little bit, not as much as you did. You did a whole study abroad there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dre Dog, I'll let you take this one.
Dre's always got your back. Me and Bobby, a tag team, we will dog walk anybody.
Dre, you're
You want to know
hilarious.
what's funny, Bobby? Is like I was just about to say, oh, he's back. What did he say?
He's back. Dr. AD, Dr. Adsyke says, I'm sure you can take me, Bobby. I'm an old head, and you look like you can pack a punch. All love, man.
Yeah,
Likewise.
but Doc, where did that come from? Was it because of his other show? I'm just curious. You don't even have to give another super chat. Just
Tell
to
you
know.
what, as I continue to generalize him from his one cover photo, and we don't know anything about him,
Yeah.
definitely a dude that I would post up in the cigar bar with 1,000%. So, Doc, my spot is in Fells Point. Hit me up. Would love to smoke with you if you are a cigar guy.
Wait a minute.
Oh, don't worry, Sarah. Rave got you back here as well, just so you know.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Rave got you.
Okay.
He understood the assignment. Don't worry, Ben Cleveland. He writes.
Yeah. Okay. All
just
right.
to make sure.
Now
how about
we've got balance in the world again.
How about this? How about the type of investment that Sharu continues to make? He is a
Sharu's
small
great.
business Patreon title sponsor of ours.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a patron for since the jump.
Yeah.
I believe he's still recovering from a ACL tear. So Sharu, hopefully you're doing all right there out in Michigan. But he drops a 50 spot on this Christmas Eve, and we appreciate him.
We do appreciate you.
Thanks, Sharu. Thor, partner.
He said he'd go to that game in Spain, make it happen.
Heck yeah. A little hop, skip, and a jump for you, Thor, down from Iceland. Tony writes, I'm crying laughing. Thanks for that. Working Christmas. Awesome, Tony. Glad we could. Literally, my goal was to not necessarily go into a big conversation surrounding Lamar's pause comment, but I failed. And I failed
because I brought it up like an
significantly.
idiot, thinking I knew what it meant.
I gotta say,
continue with my interpretation though.
I have to tell you something. I think you're going to appreciate this side of it.
Okay.
I don't think I can't remember the last time I cried from laughter. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Can I also tell you a story?
Yes.
Because your Trey Dog was saying, he's like, I got your back. And then I was like, I don't. And then I was like, wait, in the moment, okay, so I got to tell you the story. Sorry, we're already at 1:20 and it's Christmas Eve. And I do got to go start a delicious dinner. My girls are waiting for me so we're going to do, and we got lots of good stuff in the mix. But anyway.
Francis is coming into town. We both got places to be, but go ahead.
Yeah, shoot. What time do you got to go do that?
We're okay. We're okay.
We're okay?
Yep.
Okay, quickly. So
I
when
budgeted 1:30. I budgeted 1:30 in my mind, no question. And
Okay,
we're
yeah.
absolutely
and we
doing
just have
that.
quick hits next, right? Like we've gotten through everything. We just have quick hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when I was in Portugal, this is when I was serving my church mission. We're outside all day, every day.
Porto?
And I was Porto, but like you're in all the surrounding areas. So I was actually never in Porto. They call it the Porto mission, but then you're like everything surrounding it. I was all in northern Portugal. Anyway, and you're always with they call it a companion. Like you're with the other person that you're assigned to, and you're out talking about faith. And we were walking down the street one time, and I saw this he must have been, I don't know, a teenager or young 20s, and he's running for his life. Okay, he is sprinting as all get out. And all of a sudden, I see one kid kind of behind him, and then there's another kid, and then there's like, I'm not kidding, Bobby, like 15. And they're all running after this kid. And the first one in the lead, he obviously was the fastest, caught him, and they throw him down, and they start like kicking him and stuff. I do not know what got into my head. It made me so mad that this kid was outnumbered like 1 to 15.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what got into my head. And luckily she was right there. Something just took over, and I started to run over there to like go help him. I don't know what I was thinking. Luckily my companion grabbed me and pulled me back, and she's like, no, let's call the police. You don't go jump into that. You're going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
So there's something in me, like that competitive side of me, or like when I see something just completely like I have no clue what happened or why they were in that situation, but I couldn't believe that I was like ready to jump in to like go help him. There's something that there's just something that takes over that did. So maybe I would have your back if somebody now in a boxing match where it's just all competitive, like go do it where it's set up, you know.
But what you're making me think of though is that's a protectiveness. There's a protective gene within you as a mother.
Yeah, it like takes over where you're like unafraid. It's weird.
It's one thing to call it like an inner competitive spirit. I more
You're
so
right.
view
It's
it
different
as,
than that.
yeah, there's a protective gene for it. And you saw somebody that was seemingly innocent in your mind, you know, being picked on.
Well, and even if he wasn't, it's just like 15 to 1, like handle it, you know.
Yeah.
Handle it one-on-one.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's see. That was, by the way, the Dre Dog super chat was the one that inspired that story. We left off with Tony thanking us for the crying laughter on this Christmas Eve. Kazi DeFalco says, I'm a Ravens fan in Pittsburgh. I went to my first game at M&T Bank on Saturday.
Ooh,
that
nice.
was the best football atmosphere I've ever been a part of. You picked a good one. I mean, with everything that was on the line, and even though it's not prime time, it feels like at this time of year because it's dark by pre-5. So honestly, get a couple, you know, it's couple good bangs for your buck there, right? Like you get the 4:30 start, but it feels like a primetime game. Good stuff. Zach Burrows, Sarah.
Lamar is the true MVP, and it's not even close. We dog walked the Bills.
Dre, you've inspired everybody with this phrase, dog walking.
Yeah,
oh, man, it is one of my favorite ones. Dr. Ad with his third super chat donation today alone.
Yeah.
Remember, this began with his desire to get me in the ring. Okay. And then I actually extended him an invitation to go to a cigar bar that I like in downtown Baltimore. And I was just assuming that he was a cigar guy, and looks like he is. Yes, son. He's calling me son now. Padron 1964, my favorite cigar.
Oh, you were right then. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Well, you were like, I'm just generalizing on his picture, but he's like, yeah, I like a good cigar.
Oh yeah. And he says, okay, so and this is the context that you were asking for. I've seen an After Dark Bobby show where people were challenging you, and I thought I'd get in on the troll.
There we go. That's what I thought.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. By the way, a really quick, and we really have to go, but I know you guys will appreciate this one. And let me just make sure. Okay, Francis is running behind now, so we're good.
Okay.
I know you have to go though. So my aunt, who lives in Hilton Head, she comes up here for the holidays. It's from the Baltimore area. The morning after, and my Discord group knows this, but the morning after that After Dark thing that I did after the Steelers game, she writes me, I hadn't talked to her in a while. She goes, hey, sitting with some fans of yours at Papa's. How old are you? And how did you end up hooking up with Sarah Ellison? I was like, oh, I said, I love it. 30. And I used to have Sarah on my radio show well before we even ever met in person. Matter of fact, we launched our partnership prior to meeting in person. She goes, my friends here listened to you last night. Heard you were drinking wine and talking about your dating life. It was their first experience with Bobby after game wine party. Love you. Wow. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder what she actually thinks.
Yeah.
What is she actually thinking right now that she's at a taco joint in Baltimore and she just got up from Hilton Head and she happens to run into people that were a part of my After Dark experience.
Right. Well, it is kind of funny because it's like, hey, I'll pop in and get some like football news. Did you say this was after the Steelers game?
This was like, it was like 50 minutes worth of content, as I told you I think I would do. And then like the last, 20, 30 minutes was just literally, I said, hey, Q&A straight up, like, let's get it.
Yeah. Well, it is funny though, if like you're just coming in the middle of that and you're thinking you're going to get sports analysis, and then it's like, oh, he's drinking wine and talking about his dating life. It's like,
Literally.
if you don't know the background to it, then that might take you aback. That's
Literally. And if that was the case, guys, just rewind. You don't have to stay live. James Lee Wiley tells me that I need to stick to Pilates.
Yeah.
Gotta spell Pilates right, my guy. I love Pilates. It's a great way of breaking up the week. And it's a hot sculpt, so it's 108 degrees in there, and you have a mat. I don't do the reformer. I do mat work, and you have hand weights, bands all around your ankles. It's good stuff. Thor, partner.
The 1820 is 620, right? 620 here. And everyone in my country is eating Christmas dinner and opening presents, but I'm here glued to the vault. Am I sick or what?
That's awesome. Thor, we appreciate you, but
so
seriously.
It's 6:20 on Christmas Eve in Iceland right now. Everybody's eating Christmas dinner and opening presents, and he's like, well, oh, by the way, Thor, don't you guys have, because I was in Iceland, they were telling us about their Christmas traditions. There's like a dozen trolls or something, and like they can come eat children. Like my kids were thoroughly scared about not being good for Christmas when they were like,
wow.
Yeah. Maybe Thor can give a much better explanation to that, but we remembered that a little bit.
Hey, and Thor, we appreciate you, but go spend time with your family.
Yeah.
We're about to wind things down right now. Purple.
We're giving random stories now.
Purple and Black says, happy Flockmas fam. Same to you and yours. And let's get to some super chats. The injury report, which came out. What did I say?
Super chats.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're at the point where there's no point of return now. I mean, we went off the rails 20 minutes ago. So, and when I say we, I said I.
No, it's a we.
So your injury report going into Wednesday is as follows. Today's
Tuesday. So
right. Going into game day though, and there'll be one more. Right, there'll be one more provided.
Yeah, I thought yesterday would be the last because today's just a walkthrough, but they'll give an injury report for the walkthrough and then give a designation.
Such is a really unique week, right? We don't know when things are coming out or what days what. I mean, in the NFL week, like what even is today? Technically a freaking Saturday, So
seriously.
It's Tuesday. It's Christmas Eve. Your injury report came out yesterday. Some surprises, some not. Nelson Aguilar and Justice Hill remain in concussion protocol. They were DNPs as they have been all week long so far. Fa'alele popped up with a knee for a second consecutive day. He was a DNP. Jalen Armour-Davis is dealing with a hamstring. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to go. Bo Braid, the undrafted rookie out of Maryland at safety with a shoulder, was upgraded to full participant after being limited on Sunday. Zay Flowers, Sarah, maybe being careful with him, or maybe it's something more. He's dealing with a shoulder. He has not practiced the last couple days. Tyler Linderbaum, congratulations to him, by the way. He proposed last night, it looks like, or recently.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So his fiance posted a photo of the two of them. I believe her name is Rachel. Don't quote me on that, but congratulations.
Congrats, Lindy.
To the Linderbaums. And Tre'Davious White, that's not a surprise at all, right? With the shoulder after getting banged up on Saturday, he's been a DNP. What stands out to you the most?
Well, just some context here. Jameson Hensley said that Harbaugh was, quote, pretty optimistic that Flowers and Fa'alele would play, even though Flowers was seen in a sling. But I'm past that. They were using boots as precautionary members, and Bateman seemed to be fine. They've done that before with Humphrey. And so if he's in a sling, but feeling pretty optimistic, I don't know. We'll see. And then Tyler Linderbaum had returned, so that's good. So Justice Hill probably sticks out. I doubt he's going to play. Keaton Mitchell was very antsy. So I'm sure he'll be excited to get his chance. The Texans, as we know, don't have a ton of receiving threat. So if Tre'Davious White can't go this week, hopefully it's just, then they'll have basically a 10-day bye after playing on Wednesday, more like an 11-day. So honestly, if Zay can still go, I feel like the Ravens are in good shape.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's see. What else do we have to do here? Both Lamar and Harbs.
Well, just they talked about their good health, which if you're superstitious or even just a little stitious, they talked about good health. And Harbaugh said, one thing about our team is we are in really good shape. Our team is in great condition. Our team recovers really quickly, and that's documented by measurable factors. I believe fully that we'll be ready by Wednesday night. And something told me that after the issues they've had with injuries in the past, he wanted to make that point that they recover very quickly these days. And then Lamar was like very hesitant to even answer the question about that good health because he is superstitious. He said, man, it finally, and then he goes, I don't even want to say it because I don't want to jinx it, but it's like it's finally happening. Things are starting to connect at the right time for us. Being injury-free at the end of the season, that's great for us. We just got to stay healthy. So they're feeling pretty good.
Clean living this time of year. It'll be a war of attrition for these teams that are playing on that quick turnaround coming up on Wednesday. And, of course, the Ravens are not alone. It'll be Houston. It'll be Pittsburgh. And it'll be Kansas City. Well. Eddie Jackson has been signed to the practice squad by Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers, and they released running back John Kelly from the practice squad in a corresponding move. What's notable about this? Well, a lot of things. One, both are former Ravens, which is not a surprise when it comes to the Chargers. And
because basically more than half their roster are former Ravens. Continue.
You know? And then on top of that, they're going to take a flyer on Eddie Jackson, who did not obviously fit well whatsoever in Baltimore, was unhappy with his role seemingly, and was cut just a short while ago at safety. He was the, of course, latter half of free agency acquisition that the Ravens brought in late in the summer, or I guess midsummer or so, June, if I'm not mistaken, maybe late June, early July. And it looks like he's at the very least, Sarah, going to get a shot to be a part of another organization in this league.
Happy for Eddie. Also happy to let him go. And what's funny about this, Bobby, is they also reportedly, as John pointed out, tried to get Deontay Johnson. So at this point, there's just no shame between Jim Harbaugh and GM. Oh, how can I already be forgetting his name?
Joe Ortiz.
Ortiz, there we go. They're like, listen, Ortiz is like, I scouted half these guys, so I'm taking them too.
You got to wonder if there's that classic like Harbaugh family dynamic, just ridiculous competitiveness. Oh, it didn't work out for you. Well, we need them, and it's going to work out here. Maybe, or maybe not. Some incentives, partner, as we get down the closing stretch.
Yeah. So according to Brian McFarland at Ravens Salary Cap, Henry has earned his max of incentives, which is $2 million. He got $500K for reaching 1,200, and then 1,500. 13 TDs and 15 TDs. So he's hit all his incentives and got a good extra cool $2 million. Kyle Van Noy earned $500K in incentives, 25K for 7 sacks, plus 50% playing time, and then 10 sacks. He could still earn $250K more for sacks. Something got cut off, and 14 sacks. McCary got $750K for playing 90% of snaps, which, before it was like more, he's like the super sub. So that's more than I'm sure he anticipated when he signed that contract. Some potential incentives. If Marlon Humphrey gets a Pro Bowl, he will get $250K. And Bobby, he's right now number 1 in fan Pro Bowl voting. Obviously, players and coaches also need to vote, but something tells me he's going to get there. Hill needs 8 receptions or 117 receiving yards for $500K. Bobby, the concussion might have ruined that chance.
I'm bumming about that. Hopefully they'll just, who knows? Maybe they'll honor it.
8 receptions, I could see. 117 yards would be tough. But he got 20. What that 25 yarder was that a pass or a run? I can't remember. I think it was a run, actually.
I think it was. I don't remember.
I don't know. And here's the big one, says Brian. Ronnie Stanley will earn, as long as he stays healthy, with 85% of the snaps. Oh, he's already earned this then, because he's currently at 98%. With 85% snaps, $7.5 million if elected to a Pro Bowl. Original ballot. Can't be like, oh, this person opted out and now he's in.
Yep.
Or $8 million if elected to first team AP All-Pro. With 95% of snaps, he can get $8 million if elected to the Pro Bowl original ballot, or $10 million if elected to first team All-Pro. Well, he's going to get the snaps. I think there's a good chance to get it. I don't know. I don't know my mind's not enough around the tackles around the AFC to know. But he's had a good season.
And one that might warrant a contract extension.
Indeed.
Time will tell. What you got here for us?
I just had to do it. The NFL's Twitter account put out an advertisement for the Christmas Day game, Ravens-Texans, and they're calling it the King's Gambit, which has in the graphic Derrick Henry overlooking a chessboard piece or a chessboard game, but the pieces are players from each team. They're calling it the King's Gambit. Now, as you may or may not know, the Queen's Gambit was a series on Netflix, which actually was pretty good. Have you seen it, Bobby? No,
I have
you
not.
have not. It's actually pretty good. My husband really liked it, so it wasn't just me. So I just had to put up here yet again the picture of the king stiff-arming the queen because he just took the name of the Queen's Gambit right over.
You had to.
Had to do
You
it.
had to.
I had to.
Jack Settleman hosts a show with Marlon Humphrey, of course, Punchline Podcast.
Just a
funny
good
tweet.
point. Funny tweet. It's for those, if you didn't say these things, then don't take offense. But if you are one of these people, you got to eat your words. Jack points out at one point over the last 18 months, Ravens Twitter wanted the following: Tyler Huntley over Lamar Jackson, to cut Marlon Humphrey and Ronnie Stanley. Although Ronnie Stanley, I kind of get it. It was like, are you really going to pay this much? And then when they were able to get him to do a pay cut, it made sense. To replace Rashad Bateman, to trade Mark Andrews, and to replace Justin Tucker. Although I'd say Justin Tucker is still in warm water, right? Not hot maybe not hot, but still warm.
It's not
Although
scolding,
I do not agree with cutting him, not at all.
No.
And he said, thankfully, Ravens Twitter doesn't run the team.
Jack, you already know he got under some skin on that one.
That one actually had a lot of likes.
Thor followed up with you. 13 Santa Clauses that are born from trolls.
But is there no eating children? I could have sworn they do something to children.
Eating children. Come on, guys, go visit Iceland where they eat children.
No, not them.
I know. Thor, I owe you a visit too, because that was my layover when I did
Let me look this up.
my Scandinavian trip. I laid over in Reykjavik both times. But Ross Tromans and Joseph Hester, thank you both for believing in what we're building. We appreciate the support that you give us as members of the Vault Patreon community. If you guys are interested in doing the same, you can go visit the show notes. It's also a direct link in the live chat as a pinned comment. And for as little as $1.99, you too can join the Vault.
I was right. I was not giving Iceland a bad name. The trolls' mothers eat the children. And as I just Googled it, it says their mother, Grilla, is a monstrous org that kidnaps and eats naughty children.
Thor, didn't we tell you to get back to the Christmas table? He's still here, man. He can't get enough. Thank you, Thor. Appreciate you. Well, hey, not sure if I'm going to do a pregame show tomorrow or not yet. My dad's getting into town here. He just flew in. We're not driving back to upstate New York until Thursday morning for obvious reasons. It's game day, and my mom's having a ton of people over. So one thing for sure is that you and I will be inside the Vault for post-game format show. 8:30 or so, somewhere around 8:30, depending on how long this game goes. We look forward to that. We hope that you and yours have an awesome holiday, an awesome Christmas Eve, wherever you're doing. Obviously, stay safe, please, and be merry, partner.
Yes, be
hope
merry.
you have an awesome night.
I hope you have a great Christmas Eve. I hope you have a great Christmas. Say hello to your father for me. And I hope you guys have a great time together.
Yeah, we're excited. We're going to go over to the Loyola, my alma mater, Mass at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And then from there, we'll see what happens. I got some steaks here. Might do a little bit of cooking. Might pop over to our cousins. So we'll see. But give everybody my best, please. And again, thank you. Thank you all for being with us. We gave you almost, an hour and 40 minutes of content. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Yes, this packed a punch this episode. Certainly. Pun intended
And
there.
apparently I'm going to learn something after the show ends.
How many people are wishing that we leave this on for the explanation?
No, I
It
don't
ain't
want
happening.
to.
It ain't happening. But
And
thank you.
and depending on what you tell me, we may never speak of this moment ever
Probably.
again.
Probably. Yeah, this should be really interesting. But hey, you guys all enjoy your Christmases, your holiday seasons, and we will catch up with you tomorrow night. Please like the video on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And if you're totally confused as to what we're talking about, rewind about 40 minutes.
Don't rewind. Don't
Rewind.
It.
Thank you guys. For Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this Christmas Eve edition here inside the vault. We'll be back with you tomorrow night. No noon live stream, so mark your calendars accordingly. Enjoy your time with your loved ones. If you're working, hang in there. Hopefully we can provide you some entertainment. And thank you all for the continued support that you give us. And as always, thanks for joining us here inside the vault.